Well, first of all, thanks for coming. Popcorn season is upon us once again. My name is Tony Montemurno, for those of you that don't know me. I guess even if you do, I'm still Tony Montemurno. But anyway, hey, so Popcorn 101, right? Where'd it come from? It's basically, it's a personal experience of mine growing up or coming into the Cub Scouts. I wasn't a scout when I was a kid, so it was a learning curve for me. One of the things that I noticed coming in as a new adult in scouting is that there's so many moving parts, and popcorn was one of them. And it was done really bad in my experience. And so I've been a district colonel for a few years now. This is the 5th annual 101 training, and that seems like we've been doing this forever. But so anyway, my oldest is he's going to be a senior next year, and he started in 1st grade, and that's when I started. So do the math. That's how long I've been doing this. Anyway, this is 101, right? So this is basic stuff. We're not going to learn about flavors for this season or anything like that. And it's not just for popcorn kernel. So I don't know who's in what position, and we don't really need to worry about that right now. But if you're a Cub master or a committee chair, it all applies, right? It's not just for the kernels, because it deals with money. It deals with raising money, spending money. It deals with scouts going out and doing things for the weekend and things like that. So really, everybody should have some sort of idea what the popcorn thing is all about. All right. So before I get started, anybody have any questions or any comments? All right. All right. Well, let's get going then. And am I clicking? Who's clicking?
You want me to click?
I can click. I just need to know if I need to do it. That's all. Okay. So we got like a lot of computers going on. All right. So some learning objectives for this class. We're going to talk about why we sell, and then understanding the budget and its role in popcorn, and that those two go hand in hand. What happens before the corn comes out, before it arrives? Once we get it, what happens after that? We'll talk about personal sales, how to set up show and sells, and I want everybody, when you guys leave here, if you have any questions about show and sells, because last year was a problem. This isn't a show and sell. There's not a lot to it really, but if you have any questions, please ask, okay, when we get to that part. Okay, so then as colonels, what you guys have to put out for the families when you do your popcorn kickoff party. And then the big thing, especially for the new colonels, is how much am I supposed to order? Right, well, we'll talk about that, and hopefully you guys feel comfortable with that by the time we're done. And then credit cards and electronic payments, how we work that in. And half your sales, at least half your sales will be credit cards. So you got to have some sort of way to take that payment. And then some tools available to you, some apps from Pecatonica, and we have our Facebook page, Tidewater Council, Popcorn Kernels Facebook group. So if you're not a part of that, you got to be a part of that. We'll talk about that more later. And then some unit incentives, right? So most of you know that the council gives and the popcorn company gives prizes for the scouts, but the units can do the same thing as well. We'll discuss some of that. And then importance of communication. Okay, the unit colonel, the district colonels, council colonel, popcorn staff advisor, and the associate popcorn staff advisor. I forgot to add that in. We got a new one. All right. Okay, so why we do it? Wait, that's it. Oh, there you go. Okay, why we do it? Right, the main purpose is to raise money for the scouts, right? So that we're not paying out of pocket to do all the stuff we do. That's the reason why. Okay, but some of the other benefits that the scouts get out of this, and a lot of this deals with the pack, but the scouts earn prizes. And if you haven't seen the popcorn card or the popcorn order form, the prizes are on there. They get different things for different amounts that they sell. But when they work together, they build camaraderie amongst the group and in the pack and things like that. They learn how to communicate. They learn salesmanship, earning their own way, and honestly, they learn how to take no for an answer and still be polite and say, "Hey, all right, have a nice day, thank you." And you'd be surprised how many people turn around and come back and give a donation or buy something anyway because the kids are polite. And then, something that was brought up years ago was building the foundation for the Eagle Scout projects. Again, when I first made this presentation, I wasn't there yet. So, but when you're going up for Eagle, you want to fundraise and things like that. So it sorts building up that foundation for that. And then the scouts can earn advancement requirements that deal with popcorn. So what are those advancement requirements? So this is the Cub Scout advancement. Hopefully you guys can read that. Just take the Tiger one, good nights, discuss how to behave courteously with your customers. Tech all around, discover ways that digital technology can make selling popcorn easier. Art explosion for Webelos, create a piece of art to display at your show and sell with pencils, digital imagery, paint, or mixed media. For the troops, for the art one, produce a popcorn sales poster for display. Movie making, create a storyboard and video designed to show how to sell popcorn. So again, we don't have to discuss them all, but they are out there, just so you guys know that popcorn is a part of some of their requirements and merit badges. Okay, so popcorn is a council-sponsored fundraiser. So council gets some of that money, goes back to council. Okay, if you guys do a car wash or something like that, that money goes to the unit. But in this case, some of that money goes to council, and the picture on the left there is the annual camp projects up at PIPSCO, and is there a totaling $493,000, $493,797. So almost $500,000 goes into the camp, and a lot of that money comes from popcorn. It's broken down. I don't need to get into all that stuff, but as an example, shooting sports equipment, $11,000 to upgrade shooting sports at the camp. Everybody been to PIPSCO before? Yeah. So have you seen? If you have been, have you seen the changes? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and that bathhouse, that shower house is probably one of the biggest and most. I can't think of the word.
Visible.
Yeah, biggest difference, right? It was open showers, now you're individuals, stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. All right. Any questions so far? All right. And these are some of the new tent platforms that were built. That's a lot of money to buy that wood. But that stuff, they were assembled by volunteers, just FYI. That's some of the old stuff. That's just a part of the camp that from last year that was disassembled and rebuilt. And that's an earlier version of what some of the construction they did at the pool house. Okay. So speaking of money, let's talk about the budget. Okay. So this is not a budget class. I am very, I believe in a budget. I believe that budgets can be done incorrectly. And when they are, scouts suffer because they're selling more than they need to. And that's not across the board. It's just a personal thing I saw. Somebody brought me a budget and I said, that's really bad. So the budget's important, and it covers your activities for the year. Okay. You can break it down so you've got your entire cost for the year, how many scouts you have, whether you want to send, adults to training, things like that. All the costs that you guys have for your year are going to go on your budget. And then you break that down eventually to a sales goal for every scout. Okay, and the sales is how much popcorn they have to sell to make that money. And in my opinion, if I'm a parent, I want to know where my money's going, right? So make sure that the parents, that there's transparency there of where that money's going. And there's a lot of ways to form a budget. Again, we're not going to talk specifically about them, but I like the tier method, especially at the pack level. And it identifies benefits at certain sales levels. So if a kid sells $100 worth of popcorn, what does he get versus a kid that sells 5,000, things like that. And it gives them some incentives, like a pie in the face for the Scoutmaster, the Cubmaster, grab bags. They can just stick their hand in a black garbage bag and pull out something from the Dollar Tree or Five Below or something like that. There's a lot of cool ideas out there on what units can do. And then there's that relationship. When it comes to the budget, it's not just about the treasurer and the committee chair, right? It's about the Scoutmaster or the Cubmaster, because he or she's got to plan out the year and figure out what they're going to do. The popcorn colonel is a big part of that too, because the popcorn colonel needs to understand how much we have to sell for the year. Okay, so between all those people, you guys got to get together and figure out the budget. Okay. Any questions so far? We good? All right. Okay, before the corn. Yeah, that's funny. Okay, look, I'm gonna say, I really like the one-on-one training, right? It's not because I do it, but it's this time of season, it's fun. And you guys gotta have fun. When you're doing popcorn, have fun with it, because it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of great people involved. Anyway, so before the popcorn gets here, what happens? This is some behind the scenes stuff for you guys to know. You don't really get involved with a lot of it. But council leadership and the council colonel. And by the way, let me introduce everybody, because I'm the Princess Anne District Colonel, and let's hit the go around the room.
I'm Krista. I'm the Bayside Council District Colonel.
Next.
I'm Pam. I'm the Associate Staff Advisor.
Okay.
I'm Erin. I'm the Council Popcorn Colonel. So we ask that you go to all your district colonels first, but if there's an issue that kind of goes up from there, Pam, myself, and Allison.
So I'm Allison. I am the staff advisor.
I'm Scott, I'm Bayside District Council.
Okay. So that's the, yeah, you're
I'm not.
yeah, well, there's something.
Nope.
We all.
After this meeting, you'll be something.
So yeah, so those guys, they're all, they get together and they establish the vendor. We get a vendor and our establish a contract and things like that. And that's been going on now for a couple months. Then the unit colonels, they start making their plans. So it says about March timeframe, right? So if you're a unit colonel, and I know it's May, and you're a new unit colonel, you're probably thinking, oh, I'm behind the power curve. You're really not, but just start realizing that. So what I do in March is I go out and I look for show and sell areas. There's one place in particular, I'm not going to advertise it right now because this thing's going to be recorded, but I go out and I get my plan for the show and sell at my favorite place, and I've already done that. And so I have the first Saturday.
Rudy just said hi
Oh, hi.
on the chat to everybody.
Okay.
So Rudy is one of our Three Rivers District Popcorn Colonels.
And if there's any other district colonels on there, you can.
That's it.
No, that's it. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, so your unit colonels start getting some stuff together, and if they've been doing it for a while, they know where they got to go and what to do and things like that. So, the one-on-one training, which you're doing right now in May, then in the next couple months, your units are going to start figuring out your budget, and because by the time July rolls around, we're gonna submit the first order. So you need to know how much you have to order based on what your sales goal is. Yes. Did you raise a hand?
No.
Oh. So Lowe's dates are released in June or July. I'm sorry, August Lowe's dates are released, right? So if for those of you that don't know, the council controls the Lowe's in the area. Okay, that's a benefit for you guys because it's one less thing you have to go out and do on your own. It's worked for the last couple of years. I think it works great. But we release the August Lowe's dates next month around July timeframe. We release those first, let everybody get settled in, and everybody picks a couple that they want to do, and then later on we release the rest of them for the season. We'll also Food Lion's also giving us some dates as well, and we release those dates in July. We also do our seasonal training before the popcorn, before the first order. That's the training so that you got to come back to that one too, right? It's for what's happening this year, new things, new flavors, prices, things like that. We'll talk about all that good stuff.
It's our update course.
Yeah, that's everybody goes to that one.
So there are two options. It's going to be the same exactly. So pick a date and location that works for you. One of them is in Moyoc on June 26th, and then one of them is going to be back here on July
8th. Okay, and then around July. So as soon as you get done with that training and everything's fresh in your head, and you got the popcorn unit guide with you, you want to set up your kickoff party. At the kickoff party, and we'll talk more about this later, but the colonels are going to discuss the plan. right, for the season and hand out some supplies, which are signs, money order, or money envelopes, order forms, tasting kit. And so the kids get a chance to taste the popcorn. Because especially the ones that don't know it, and you want to have everybody taste it, but because some folks will come up when the kids are out selling and ask them what their favorite flavor is. And I've had people, the kids, they'll tell them, and then they buy a popcorn and they give it to the kid. So, all right, and then at that time, same thing in July. You guys are gonna submit your first order. Okay. I'm gonna say next, but I'm the next. All right, so product arrival. So the key to our success, the reason that's up there in that first bullet, right? We do 4 orders throughout the season. And about 2 weeks prior to them getting here, we submit the order. I say that is that the key to our success because we kind of spread it out over the few months instead of just doing one bulk order and then you got to deal with it after that, right? So so you want to plan your orders, and we'll talk about how we're going to do that. So the first Thursday in August, the semi truck arrives, delivers the first the product, and there's usually a 2.5 truckloads, right? About that, maybe 3. What we do is we invite colonels that are available to come help offload because the truck parks out in the parking lot, and we got to haul that stuff in by pallet and stack it. And if you've ever seen this room, it fills up with popcorn. It's all around the wall. So if you do that and you help out, then you can pick up your product, your first order right there. You don't have to make an appointment to come back in. Then our next orders arrive early September, early October, and then mid-November. For the mid-November one, since it's the last order, you got to pay for it in advance, and all the payments at that time are due. So again, we'll talk more about that at the training, I think, than at this one. But that's just how it works. Anybody have any questions on that? I know that kind of went fast. Yes, ma'am.
So when will the subsequent orders have to be ordered?
So I don't have those hard dates yet, but basically about 2 weeks prior. So if it arrives early September, 2 weeks prior to that, we order it roughly. Yeah, you'll have all that stuff will come out in the regular popcorn training for the season.
And they'll have a popcorn kernels guide that will have a dates listed on there that will help you out. One thing that becomes very hard for the newer kernels is figuring out what your inventory is going to be, which is going to come up here. One thing I will say is that first order comes in, you know, in August, and your next order deadline is in about 2 weeks after that. So that second order can be a little bit hard to figure out exactly what you're going to go through. And that's where I would say, make sure, I mean, Tony's going to talk a little bit more about this, but just make sure that if you're getting confused or need help, reach out to your district popcorn kernels, and we can help you figure out, you know, based on what you've done before, how to do it.
All right. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so we'll talk about personal sales. So one type is the door-to-door. I personally think it's best to have product in hand when you do this, although you don't have to. So if you in July, you're going to get your tasting kit and you get your order form. If you got some gung-ho kids that want to go out and sell, they can walk the neighborhood and just make sure they tell people, hey, popcorn's not getting here until this date, but they can take orders. You know, I personally like the idea of having it in hand. People buy it and the sale's done. So if the product will be delivered later, please clarify that delivery timeline with your customers. And we're saying that because I think last season we had a few customers that made calls to here and saying, hey, I ordered popcorn and never came. I gave the kid money. So, and if you're going out, especially so a lot of it's going to be summertime or hot weather. Make sure the chocolate products stay cool. You don't have to have, like, we put them in a cooler, but you don't have to like dump ice on the cooler like you're trying to keep your beer cold, right? This is just keeping the popcorn from melting. So a couple frozen water bottles dispersed throughout the cooler. That's really all you need. If you're going to be out there all day, maybe somebody comes and puts new ones in there. Yeah.
Suggestion, if you're using coolers and you're trying to keep stuff cold, keep a towel between whatever the thing is cold and the popcorn so that it does not like rub off on condensation or anything.
Yeah.
What, take the label off the lid?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Put the ice pack right on top of that paper label. It works really great.
Yeah. Be careful. The label has to be on there when you sell it. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, that was the issue that we had is if you keep a towel between whatever the cold thing is and the product, you're not gonna have condensation rubbing labels off.
Also with the ice being in there, not only the labels, but they can get into the can.
Mhm.
So, and sometimes into the product if they're not totally sealed. So, yeah.
Like ice packs.
I will say
Ice
I
packs
use
and-
half-gallon milk jugs full of ice.
Oh.
And then you put it right at the bottom, so I have literally in my laundry room, I have a freezer just for ice for popcorn. And
It's dedication.
yeah, and so I have ice packs in there, but I really like the size of the half-gallon milk jugs because they fit nicely at the bottom of coolers, and then you can just stack around.
So let me just, it's not just that the label has to be there, the label cannot be damaged.
Right.
Right, so that's what happened last year, we had several labels that came back when people brought popcorn, the label itself was there, but half of it was missing. So realize that we have a hard time with, because that's a requirement by the FDA or the people who are in charge of food, the Food and Drug Administration, that the whole label with all the ingredients has to be visible and be able to see, to be sold.
Okay, so another way to for personal sales, take your order form to work. If you're a parent, feel free to do that. If it's summertime and you know, it's a bring your kid to work kind of day, have your kid come in with a scout uniform on, selling, there's all sorts of things you can do. Pop a bag of popcorn, like right around 10:30 when people start getting hungry. You know, and then they smell it, it smells good, and then you can start selling it. And you can sell it to friends, neighbors, local family members. So you can and also online. So online sales are also part of personal sales, but they're a little bit different because you don't deal with them directly. Okay, so online sales. So it's if there's a 30% commission for your online sales. PR popcorn. So our popcorn company is called Pecatonica River. Don't ask me how to spell Pecatonica. But prpopcornstore.com is the website. Oh, actually, Pecatonica is right there. It's the next one. So you're not going to deal with that, right? Your parents are going to advertise their kids on social media, whatever. People are going to order through the website, and you're never going to see the money. You're going to get a notification that something was sold. But you got to make sure as popcorn kernels that we add that into the Scouts personal sales because that goes towards prizes. And it's the wholesale price. It's not the 30%. Every time you're dealing with prizes, it's based on the sale of popcorn. So include the sales for the Scouts prize total. Just so you know, there is free shipping again this year. And new for 2025, there's a daily online summary email notification, which sounds very important and detailed. Anything you want to add for that, Allison?
So, Pecatonica River Popcorn is gonna be sending that email notification. They tell me only on days when your unit has a sale, so it won't be like you're getting one every single day that says you had $0. But one of the things that we saw was that units weren't getting notified well about their online sales, so your kernel, whoever signed up for your Scout Boss account, should get an email when you have a sale. They also just told us yesterday that they are going to start providing tracking links for items sold online. So that should help your customers, because there is always a delay with the chocolate. They don't want to ship it in August when it's gonna melt before it gets to the customer. So the customer should be getting tracking links this year as well.
And is that coming from Pops again? Is that what they?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
that'll run straight through Pecatonica River Popcorn, so their email address, which I believe we have on a later slide, but you'll see it in the popcorn guide and other things as pops
Okay.
at your popcorn.
Yes.
That's just going to the popcorn person that emailed,
So-
not like the actual, like, say like parent orders or grandparent ordered, like. That scout never, like, unless that person tells you, that scout has no idea that anybody ordered to like thank them or anything unless. You're like, hey, did anybody buy anything? Am I like I had to ask people, like ask the popcorn person
Should
last
the
year.
kernel have it also?
So the summary email will go to the kernel, so
And then that
whoever
person
has
has
the
to reach
Scouts
out.
account, and then you can tell the scouts from that. The tracking information is gonna go to the customer.
And you,
So,
and the popcorn kernel can always go into the report section to see what has been ordered online as well, under Scout Box.
So you just have to go and be like, help each scout that somebody ordered if they wanna know.
in the past, they sent it to the email address of the scout, like whatever was on file for the scout. Just,
A few years ago, last year they didn't.
no, last year they didn't, but when they sold it, when they used to send them out, I thought they sent them out to the email associated with the parent, right, the parents, but I don't know, anyway, we'll get to that, we'll talk more
I
about
just thought it
that.
was hard as like a brand, like last year was my first year doing any kind of popcorn,
Yeah.
like not as a popcorn leader, just my son was the first year doing popcorn.
Right.
And we had people that ordered online and I felt bad of him not thanking people because he didn't know that they ordered.
Right,
I
right,
didn't know they
yeah, I
ordered
got you.
until they were
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, by the way, you had online sales. I was like, okay, who ordered? So that
Yeah.
I can make sure my kid thanks them.
Yeah.
Now,
I
I'm
felt like that
pretty
was hard.
sure, and I haven't tried it this year. If you set up online, so the PR Popcorn has a site that you can set up for your scout to send a direct link. I'm pretty sure through there you can see something about the orders. Because I used it in the past. Now, again, I haven't logged in this year to look at it, but in the past I was able, as a parent, to see what my scout had ordered, if it came through that direct link that came through like my PR Popcorn or something.
I will ask, Pecatonica what access they have to parents, cause I mean, that's a great question, so we'll ask them.
Yeah, see, stuff like that always pops up on these trainings, and people have these thoughts, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Matter of fact, that Facebook page that we have, that started from some parents saying, hey, can we have like a real-time communication between kernels, and that's worked out really, really great. So, all right,
So
The other-
one more thing on
Yes.
the online sales though, and you probably already said it, but this is a great way to reach out to family that's not in the area that wanna go ahead and contribute, because if you go ahead and they say they want popcorn and you package it up and then ship it to them, that'd be a lot of money. I mean, this goes directly to them, it's free shipping, they're contributing, they're helping. So, you know, we all have family out of town, this is a great venue for that.
and they do have White Ruby.
And they do have like really.
So the online products are a little different than the
Yeah.
your local products.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else?
They have coffee.
Any other questions, comments? Yeah, they have coffee too. Yeah, I never tried it. Popcorn flavored coffee.
Some of them have coffee.
Hey, who's that?
Hey, look at that guy. So those kids are a little taller and a little
Yeah.
angrier nowadays, but back when they used to love me. Okay, so show and sell. So this is the part where we want to make sure everybody has a good handle on this. So what is a show and sell? It's selling out in front of a business or somewhere in public, right? If you're going to set it up on your own, or if you get a Lowe's sale or a Lowe's location, if you're the first one there, you want to get in and go talk to the store manager and say, hey, I'm here. Where do I set up? Get clarification from the store, because a lot of stores, they don't want you, they want you at the exit, not at the entrance. So just make sure that you get with them and you know where and how you got to do business. If you're going to set it up on your own, you're going to go talk to a store manager to get it set up. Sometimes, person A talks to manager A and person B talks to manager B. And next thing you know, two different people are scheduling you for the same time. If that happens, it's a matter of proof, right? Hey, this is dated April, mine's dated July, so obviously April's got it. So we just want you guys to be able to resolve those conflicts professionally and not, because when you don't, it's gonna reflect bad on scouting. Okay, the scouters can't even get their things together or work together.
Sometimes that falls to the organization and not to, like there'll be one person that does the planning and scheduling of any fundraising groups, and then somebody else steps in and takes over for them. And then you've got a double booking, okay? And it's not anybody's fault. But what you don't want to do is to raise an issue. And so maybe you split the day. Sometimes these things just happen. So there's a lot of hands in those organizations.
And I did just look on PR Popcorn. If you register your scout for my PR Popcorn, there is an online sales report as a parent that you can log into with those links that you can see everything that your scouts ordered online. So I would suggest because it's cool. They can make a video, they can have a direct link to Facebook, direct link to any of your social media, like they have all the different platforms. So instead of the, you know, them needing to know the Scouts code, they can just click the link and they're in their store, in their personalized store. But it also gives you a place to see that as a parent.
I just wanted to make sure like my kid was, you know, saying thank you and having that part of it ingrained,
Yeah.
so. We're just trying to figure out how to do that, so thank you.
When you guys have your kickoff parties, you can ask your parents, or even before then, if they have any places, like if you got somebody that owns a shop in a mall somewhere, and you know, can you sell in front of there? We had a, believe it or not, we sold popcorn in front of a movie theater. One of the parents had a connection to the movie theater, and their rule was you can only sell unpopped popcorn, not popped, because obviously that's what they sell as well, right? So, but yeah, we sold microwave popcorn. And yeah, it was pretty good. So Cubs, they work in pairs with two parents. If you're gonna have Cubs out there, and the reason you want to do that is because I gotta go to the bathroom, right? Kids gonna have to go to the bathroom all the time. This way you're not leaving the table unattended. And then it's good. Kids feed off each other when they're at that age. So certain companies are restricted. Like I know Home Depot won't let you sell. Lowe's will, but Home Depot will not. Wawa will not. I know people sell at Wawa. If you ever see scouts out there, don't say, "Hey, what are you doing here? You can't do it." Wawa's not. Some people they got connections, and the manager says, "Hey, you're fine." So if scouts are selling, it's because the company's letting them. So don't freak out if you know you see a name up here and then somebody's selling it later on. And so break out the bling. You can see some of the stuff we had out there. I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but that little thing at the bottom there, that's like the foam insulation spray foam. One of the parents made popcorn out of this insulation, and it came out really cool. It looked really neat. So yeah, dress up your table, bring attention to it. If you got a troop flag with all the pennants on it, you know, fly that thing, you know, stuff like that. You know, bring attention to yourself. All right. Again, keeping the chocolate cool. You're going to hear that multiple times. And then you can bring membership stuff, like bring Scout Me In cards if we're still using those, right? Because kids might say, "Hey, what are you doing? Oh, here's a business card, or here's a number, or where you from?" You know, they might not want to join your unit, but they can join another unit. The bottom line is with that, from the corporate perspective, is we're trying to get kids to join scouting, right? It doesn't have to be in your unit, so don't drag them across town just to to increase your numbers, but have information that they can join.
You can also go ahead and put like a sticker for your unit on the back of those cards, so they know if they want to get more popcorn, they know how to get a hold of you, you know? Cause they call us and they go, "Okay, who are these people out in front of Dick's that we're selling?" I don't know. You know, I don't know the individual places that show and sells. I know the big ones, you know, so I can't direct them to you, so.
I just want to make one note about the Cubs working in pairs with two parents. You know, there is a new training for the why am I spacing out on the name of it?
So safeguarding youth.
Yeah, safeguarding youth. And you know, that's brought up in one of them about fundraising specifically. And you know, if you're at the troop level, if you have a parent can be with their child, right? But if you have multiple youths, like if you have two youths, you should have two adults, right? So you shouldn't be in charge of somebody else's child selling at a show and sale, right? And you know, for the troops, of course, it's two deep leadership, you know, but again, for fundraising efforts, they did bring up that, you know, especially at the troop level where you have a kid can stand for a little bit longer period of time and maybe they don't need that second person there. You can have one adult and one child as long as it's your child only. Okay. But at the pack level, we really want to see two because, yeah, you know, a kindergartner may not be able to hold their bladder. Got money and popcorn, and what are you going to do if you know, if somebody needs to go to the bath? I need to go right now. We've all been there. We've all seen it. It happens a million times. But that was something that came out of the new scouter training that's coming up.
Yeah, good point about the parents. I don't call that out, but yeah, make sure you got two deep leadership. Okay, so what a good idea to have is a notebook, a show and sell notebook that's got your order forms in it, for the different shifts. You've got the money envelopes, the tracking sheet, money box, have some petty cash with you as well. And you know, I put $100 on there. You can do whatever you want, but the bottom line is have some small bills just in case people need some change. And from what I saw with the prices, I'm not going to get into that now, but the prices are a little different.
I would,
They don't end in zeros like they used to.
well, this year I would suggest you have 5s and 1s, not just 5s in your petty cash.
And don't forget about the credit card device. And then tell parents, so as throughout the sale, it's gonna get really busy. And again, I don't want to get too much into this, but it's gonna get really busy sometimes. And you don't know if you're coming or going and who bought what. So do your best. I don't let the, especially at the troop level, don't let the kids track everything. I mean, it's supposed to be, you know, boy led or scout led, but they can screw that thing up in a heartbeat. So watch the paperwork, okay, and maybe have some sort of guidelines for the kids. But it can get hairy when you get a line of people, and next thing you know, you're checking, you're doing a periodic check, and you're like, oh my God, I don't have enough cash, or was that credit sale or whatever. So, but just periodically, just verify your inventory throughout the sale when you get a break. And that last comment there, the scout sale can get lost if cash or credit sale is not documented correctly. In other words, what happened to us was that we had a kid sold a credit sale, but he documented as a cash sale. Then he didn't have the cash when he counted his money to back it up. He said, oh, he must have put in donations by accident and pulled the money out of donations. But when I looked at the credit report, because some of these, we use Zettel, and I love it. But Zettel will give you for the day, it'll tell you exactly what you sold. Right. So, and it tells you what time they were sold too. So I knew exactly when and where, and now I haven't missed. This thing was sold on credit, but they didn't document it on credit. So he pulled $20 out of his donation, put it into the cash sale, but really it was a credit sale. So he ended up, I gave him another $20 basically.
So,
So anyway,
it's okay
yeah.
if I'm- sorry, this is something that came up that I talked to a lot of colonels about last year, so I figured I'd just mention this in Popcorn 101, because this is definitely a Popcorn 101 thing. When you're talking about show and sales, so my unit sheets are set up as a shift tracker sheet. So if I have multiple shifts in a day, I'm putting in, so say I have 5 shifts in a day, I'm putting in at least 6 to 7 sheets in case somebody messes one up, right? And then I'm putting in envelopes in each one. And what I do is at the end of every shift, my scouts know that they have to check the inventory, starting, ending. The cash box needs to go back to $100 or whatever it is, you know, whatever it started with, usually 100. And then the money that they earn during that shift goes into the envelope with their shift tracker sheet. And then I have them seal it right there. And the reason that I do that, and I've taught them to do this for the last few years, it was actually a really good, my favorite scouter partner / ex-husband had said years ago when we were in Cubbies, he was like, I think it'd be a good idea if we did 2 deep leadership on counting everything too. So what we do is each of those sealed envelopes, now you've got a span of maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 hours at the most if you're talking about a troop. So if there's a mistake, it's a lot easier to find if you're able to break it up by shift. And then what we do, just to make things easier, is we still do 2 deep leadership for counting, where we have 2 adults at the end of the weekend go through all the inventory, match up the inventory that the weekend started with and ended with, making sure it matches the sales that we're seeing on the sheets. And we do a weekly report, and then we count the cash together. So that way, if there's ever an issue, because issues pop up, and it's not just the scouts, sometimes it's the parents, and they don't always mean to, right? It's easy. I've seen parents mess up cash versus credit sales. But then, like, we use the square, I can go in by time and find each one of those very easily. And at the end of the weekend, if there's a discrepancy, I've got my parents so accustomed to, I'm going to send them a text message if I see a discrepancy right away. Okay. But I've had 2 people, and in our unit, they know that we do this, right? So it's however you want to set up. I'm just giving you an example. They know on Sunday night or Monday night, we're going to be counting all that cash. So if they get a text, and I usually will say myself and so counted it, and it was so maybe $1 off, $2 off, whatever it was. And I've not had a lot of pushback from parents doing that as well, because it's not just me, right? It's myself and someone else. And And yeah, my ex-husband was my ex at the time and still is, and we still spent a lot of time counting money together. Um, but it gives them two different adults, so it wasn't just one set of eyes looking at it. It gives you a chance to be able to track those problems really fast and nip it in the bud so you can find out exactly where it happened and get more information on it. And then you get less issues, because that's gonna be the biggest thing, especially if you're tying, your program year, which you really kind of should be like, they're doing it for a reason, right? To support their program year to what they're doing, especially at the cubby level, where they're like, no, I had so and so in sales. If you're nipping it in the bud when you count those sales, like let's say Sunday, Monday, whatever day of the week you do it on, and you're able to say, hey, it was $1 off, or, I just want to make sure you were aware, we adjusted the totals. Every parent I've had, because the first year, I didn't always send that text message following up right away, and then people would be like, what happened to this? And then I'd have to go through the weekly tracking sheets and find, it was a big pain in the butt. So if I do that right away, that nips the parent concern in the bud, right? And they know it's not just me counting it and making a big mistake. I've had two people count it. And again, going back to finding those problems, so much easier when we seal those envelopes. Yes, it's a little bit more work. I went to the Dollar Tree though, and got a box of envelopes, and whatever, however many show and sale sheets I had in there, I had just as many envelopes. And then it's amazing how much the problems over the years have come down. Just having those shorter time periods where you're not trying to look through an entire day or an entire weekend to find a problem.
Okay, anybody have any questions on show sales? Yes.
I did have a question on locations. Is there any kind of restriction that would prevent us from setting up inside a business versus being outside a business?
So no, as long as you have the visibility and the foot traffic,
Okay.
there's nothing that says you can't. Just, stay away from, the bars and the,
Absolutely.
I mean, if it's not good for
Scout.
kids, don't go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My issue was I have a friend who owns a detailing shop, and he has car shows every Saturday and Sunday, and they have a DJ that sits outside. But if we come inside the business, I feel like it would just be a little bit quieter, a lot more easy to
Yeah,
make sales
yeah.
when they have the foot traffic going in and out the store as
As
well.
long as they let you do that, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Remember, it's their company, right? Their business, so.
Absolutely.
and I will say I've had, when with our pack, we had a location that had an indoor right inside the front doors, which was great. It was amazing. And then another one with the troop that I've had the same thing. And sometimes it's easier to get the scouts to sign up, and then you have less people canceling when you have some indoor locations.
Exactly. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? You good? Yes,
Are we doing sign up Genius for locations this year?
yes.
I'm not familiar with it at all. I didn't
Okay.
know their popcorn firm from last year, so would use that. I don't know. that.
Okay, so yeah, that for online, if you didn't hear that, the question was, are we using sign up geniuses here? And I am. Yeah, I think we are. Yeah, everybody is, right? Yeah.
For the lows.
You know,
Yeah.
Free.
For loads and food line.
Yeah.
So
those
is
will-
Walmart on that as well?
No. Well, are
So,
you in?
Elizabeth City.
Okay, I think that they did do that down there.
We'll
So-
check with Nan if she's been able to book.
Yeah.
Okay. We did a lot
Unfortunate-
of Kitty Hawk as well.
Yeah, so the Nan is is down there in Albemarle, and she set up some additional locations for some of the units down there that we weren't able to get access to up here. So for all you Virginia people, it's not that we're leaving those locations out. We weren't able to. I know that people have asked in the past about Walmart, and we've had a hard time getting Walmart to let us in. So I know there's a few troops in Chesapeake that were able to get over there, but
I was gonna say they sell out of Chesapeake. 'Cause
yeah, Chesapeake was allowing it, but a lot of the Virginia Beach locations were pushing back, saying that it wasn't allowed by corporate, so.
We sell it to Walmart every single year at Pack 374.
Yeah.
hey, look, if it works,
And if you can, you go for it, right?
Yeah.
I refuse to sell there anymore, but
Oh, I'll take it.
it's all yours. Yeah. I do the one right in Vanstown, so.
Tony, are all the food lions like locked down? Like, can we go ahead and get dates from Food Lion?
is this a trick question?
No.
So Pam, as you saw on the slides, we'll be releasing those dates in July. And they will be announced at popcorn training.
But
So
if
make
I-
sure you come to that.
But if I go, this is a fun conversation, but if I go ahead and go and I see the 2 dates that have been given to us, can I approach them But other
Food Lion
dates?
Corporate, said when they were booking the 2 dates for scouts, that they do not want you reaching out to Food Lion stores for other dates.
Okay,
Now, if you have a friend who's a manager and you wanna talk to them, I'm not gonna tell you not to, but if you don't have a relationship there, Food Lion Corporate said do not approach stores directly.
okay, good to know.
And Food Lion Corporate, I mean, so if you don't have a relationship with them, you have to go through a whole online vetting process. Dick's is actually the same way.
Can we still do the online bidding thing? Or is that what they're specifically
That's what
saying?
they're
not?
talking about. That's the corporate.
Corporate said don't have
Well,
units
if you
reach
get
out
in
to.
trouble, I already started that process, so I'm sorry, I'll cancel it.
What-
What about Harris Teeter? We did Harris Teeter a few years ago.
I already didn't understand that. Here's to either side.
So,
From what I understand, Harris Teeter Corporate changed the policy. And because they had nothing to do with scouts, it had other groups that were complaining that they allowed scouts and were potentially going to legal action, and Harris Teeter just said, we're done, no one. So that's what I got last spring when when I was in the middle of coordinating camp car sales. So when I first went in, they said, yeah, not a problem. We went back 2 months later to solidify dates, and they're like, yeah, not anymore. And
Can we find out on Harris Teeter?
We can.
Yeah.
I will say that Whole Foods was very similar as well. So, I mean, there's quite a few since COVID. There's quite a few locations that are more corporate that aren't allowing as many scouting groups. And really, I'm seeing a lot more like the smaller businesses that are more people who have kind of more fluid income tend to be, some of your niche places tend to be really good locations. Like pet stores. I know that sounds weird, but pet stores are a good one.
So one more question. What are the boundaries for popcorn sales? Can I go like into Suffolk or can I go Newport News or Hampton or any place like that?
No,
Tony?
Tony, you know the answer, Pam does too.
so you should stay in your own district, right? I mean,
Okay,
but people don't know what the district is.
and your own council, because that's a different council.
Yeah, so your own council.
Council boundaries unless you are going door to door in your own neighborhood. So if, if you live in Suffolk, but you scout in Chesapeake, you're still a part of Tidewater Council, you can go door to door in your own neighborhood. The parents in your unit who also work in Suffolk can take it to work, but you cannot set up show and sells outside of our council. Our council is the 4 Southampton Road cities and then 7 counties in North Carolina.
Which means if you work at Newport News Shipyard, no, you can't take it there unless.
You
they
can
say-
sell at your workplace.
You can.
You have to be
order from
careful.
to work,
Not
but
at-
you
not at
cannot.
The shipyard, you won't.
Not
You
in the
cannot-
shipyard.
I don't know what their rules are.
Yeah.
Not
Not allowed.
show and sell
Yeah.
at.
Can you put an order form there?
It'd be important news if you.
Can't even bring it in.
No show and sells outside of council.
Gotta be careful with that,
Just to clarify.
Yeah, it's Navy rules. You're not allowed to do any sort of fundraising for anything on naval property.
Okay.
Now, I will say, one thing that I really I thought was pretty neat is there are some units like in Norfolk that are selling at some of the ODU games at the tailgates. Where they're kind of going with a little red wagon around the tailgate selling popcorn, which I was like, that's pretty cool actually. And there's a lot of festivals. I've been down in North Carolina, like where there are active scouts selling popcorn at some of these festivals. And so, I mean, some of those things like weekend events are a great place to sell popcorn because people are, again, they have extra money if they're going to those type of events, right? They're
Tailgate.
tailgating or, like one of them in particular was Belvedere Day down in North Carolina. And, there was, a lot of vendors and things like that, but there's a lot of different festivals that go on, especially in August. Farmers markets, if the weather's good, can be really good.
Yeah, we did the farmer's market one year. You gotta pay to get in there, but, and there's no guarantee you're not gonna have another unit selling popcorn in the same area, but. Yeah, I mean, go out and find, the council's doing something with the Lowe's and the Food Lion and the gun place. I haven't gotten a hold of them yet. I forgot about them.
Superior Planning,
Superior, yeah,
but it's just the one in Virginia Beach.
yeah. So that's what we will give out to you guys. What's that?
The Lynn Haven Superior.
Yeah, the Lynn Haven,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's one over there on Michelle or
Shell,
whatever.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know they love my kids, and that's my kid's favorite place to go.
Yeah,
But,
They beg for it. every-
Bob's on Granby. They love supporting scouts because the guy that owns Bob's used to be an Eagle, was an Eagle Scout, is an Eagle Scout?
Always an
Whatever.
Eagle.
He's a Marine.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so they support scouting and. The other gun place on, yes, Freedom, they support scouting.
Tony's
All right.
scared to move on.
do you guys, well,
Yeah, you're done.
I'll see stories. Does anybody, so that's in a nutshell is Shonesville's. Okay, well, I'm gonna show you guys some of the forms that we use, so you kind of know what we're talking about when we're talking about a sales form or whatever, but that in a nutshell, so it's going out, it's talking to businesses, it's setting, it's, hey, where do we set up and how do we set up and when can we be here, it's yada, 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 so that's it, right, and making yourself, I don't want to say marketable, but bringing attention to your table, right? Don't go out there with a plain white table or whatever. That tablecloth you saw earlier, that was made by one of the moms in the troop or in the pack. So, all right, so your kickoff party, right? Once you get done with the training, you want to have, and you get all the information, you get your tasting kit and all your stuff. You want to have a kickoff party and let your unit know what the plan is for the year. Okay. So, and you want to do that before you submit your first order, because if you have parents that are going to take the order form to work, you might want to buy a little extra, right? We're going to talk about how much to buy in a second here. But if they want to, do door-to-door sales, taking order forms to work, things like that, you want to have extra stock on hand for that stuff. And have your selling strategy in place prior to the meeting. What that means is, okay, we're going to do Lowe's. I'm going to get Lowe's set up. I'm going to get, these different locations. And then once you have those locations set up, then you're going to buy popcorn to support the sales at those locations. Right. And that's highlighted, bolded, underlined, asterisk. The only thing I didn't do is italicize the thing, right? Starting early is the key to success. I can't stress that enough. Sales in August are up. Once the season starts to go, sales start to drop. Okay, because next thing you know, you're out in Lowe's and I still got popcorn from the last kid I bought it from. People have it and they're not eating it or whatever. So start early. It's going to be your biggest sale.
In August at Lowe's, like what are you looking at a day? Anybody that's done a Lowe's in August, you guys are the best people to speak out.
So our pack, last time we did a Lowe's, we did 9 to 5.
In August?
In August.
Yep.
And for the entire day, I think we pulled in somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 in popcorn.
That's us too.
It's amazing. It's amazing. You don't think you're gonna sell that and then you don't have any left over. So you have to make sure on the front end, you go super, super heavy.
Yeah, I have my sheet. So at Lowe's on Portsmouth Boulevard, in a 3-hour thing, we sold $800
That's
of popcorn,
amazing.
and that's not the donations. That's just the popcorn
Yep.
in 3 hours.
You got so many clients right now, so I call them clients, but they're supporters and they're waiting. They're waiting for all those, the big tier items, they're waiting for.
Yep.
So, okay.
Depending upon the size of your unit, you can have a popcorn crew. You can have the colonel, a treasurer. You can have somebody that's going to deliver popcorn. You get a small unit like me. I'm the guy delivering everything and doing it all. But if they run out, who's going to be supplying replenishing the inventory?
So we do have a question online. They want to know, when do we get our tasting kits again?
The goal is to have them available at the trainings. If you are planning to go to the Moyoc training, we're only gonna bring them for the units that sign up to attend in person, so please make sure you register. And if you do not attend one of those 2 trainings in person, there will be Zoom options. So then you'll be coordinating with your district colonel to get those after.
Yeah, hopefully everybody online heard that.
The signups are open now, so whenever. I think we have.
You can sign up for them. I signed up for it this afternoon. If you got an email for like a reminder about this meeting, the link for that was to sign up for those was in that email.
And I think there's one to our webpage at the end.
All right, so at the kickoff party, you can do a taste testing. This is a time where you want to have some other activities, especially for the Cubs. where the kids are off doing something and the parents are talking about popcorn. Okay, and what the plan is for the year. We did this once out in the park somewhere and we were shooting up, not rockets, but bottles, like air rockets or stomp rocket, whatever they were. They weren't stomp rockets, but the bottom line is have an event for the kids, especially the younger kids. Make it fun for them and informative for the parents, and have a couple of adults handling the kids while the colonel talks to the other parents. You're gonna get a popcorn guide when you go to the regular training. Use that as your reference. What I do with that is I go through it and I highlight what I want to talk about, and I go to my next meeting. And typically at a court of honor or something like that, when we're all done, I'll hit the highlights. I mean, my parents know it, so it's nothing new. But for the new parents, you really want to get down and dirty and make sure they understand.
So
What
we
it's
do
all
have
about.
another question. What if you can't attend the in-person training due to summer camp?
There are Zoom options. The trainings are on 2 different weeks, so it might be that one date works for you and the other one doesn't. And then otherwise get with your district executive or your district colonel to get your kit. We will be recording those as well, but it's better if you can come in person and get your questions answered.
Okay, so popcorn guide as a reference. Okay, so especially at the club level, right, and reiterate to the kids how to address customers. I said earlier they're going to get a lot of no's, and then they can say thank you, have a nice day. Discuss that with them because that's part of their learning objectives, right, from selling popcorn. Okay, the use of the show and sell tracker and the credit card app, again, for the new parents. If you have a tracker, make sure they understand how the tracker works. And then the credit card app, make sure they got it on the phone, things like that. Okay. Usually, I mean, we all still have the app. We just got to renew it or whatever we got to do for this year. And then that's so depending on how you guys want to do business, right? You do every scout sells whatever he sells during the day. That's what he gets or she gets, or do you guys take the whole day, split it up, and divide it amongst the scouts? And somebody's nodding to that one, so there's no right or no wrong. I know at the troop level, I try to present that because I was trying to get all the time slots filled, and everybody was trying to get the 10 to 12 and the 12 to 2, and just those. And then now we got these hours that are being wasted. But parents are like, hey, no, if my kid's selling, I want my kid getting what he gets. So I said, all right, we'll do that. But on the flip side of that, right? Do you really want a kid standing there from 9 to 10, not selling anything, and they getting demotivated? Now I have scouts, I have BSA scouts, I have big kids. My son is freaking 6'2" and he has a mustache. He's trying to sell popcorn and nobody's buying it from him, and he was upset. He was not a happy camper. So I said, why am I doing this to my kid? Right. So if nobody's going to buy from him, don't bother. And I'm paying out of pocket.
We do have a question back here.
Yes.
Also, just make sure that all of your parents know what your policy is going to be for how credit goes. When my daughter was in another troop, which I'm not looking to, but I think it's been fixed now, but she started selling popcorn and she sold a lot of popcorn when she first started, and no one else was selling any popcorn. And so they would sell, I sold to my mom, I sold to my grandma, and that's it. Because apparently everybody knew but us that the policy was as long as you participate, you split it evenly.
Yeah.
So my daughter made a couple $1,000s and she had to split it with everyone.
Yeah.
Who sold one.
Are you
Yeah.
talking about Jenny?
It's how 150 was when we were there, and that's why I left.
Yeah, and I will say that
So we did not know about that at all. So now we have made it super clear with the troop that we're in now, that is
so
not how we roll.
I will say that
We were trying to start girls.
I've seen the opposite happen where we had somebody actually leave our troop because they didn't like that we didn't follow that policy of everybody, as long as you participated, we split the sales between everybody. But that's why it's so important to be part of the committee, right? As a parent, you're a committee member. So when they're talking about fundraising, when you're doing your yearly budget, and that's really when you're doing your yearly budget is when they should be talking about kind of how the credit goes for the year. If you're a scout parent, go to those committee meetings, so that way you know what's going on, and then of course, yes, as popcorn kernels, make sure you disseminate that information. Tony was saying something about his scout being older and not being as cute. We've done things where we've had the pack and the troop work together and sell together, and that's worked really well.
I have 4 girls, so when I take them out to sell, we're there sun up till dark, and it's just my 2 girls, and my little one is 6, and my oldest is 17. So she helps run the table and keeps things moving with inventory and keeping track, and she's fantastic at it. And my 6-year-old, she's so.
She's so hot. Here's the bottom one, it's in my pack. She's as cute as a little button.
Yeah.
But we are having to change our policy in our troop also, not just from what we had experience in other troop, but we found that because my girls would be there many hours a day and just kill it and make $4,000 to $6,000 a day, some of the other members of our troop who didn't want to do anything would go sit at a booth at another store and not talk to people, not engage, and they'd walk away with $200 in sales for the whole day, because we said we split it, and they knew that my kids would carry it.
So our unit decided not to do that. We split it between each shift.
Yep.
Okay, so if you have 2 scouts at a shift, then it's split between those scouts at that shift, right? So that's another reason why I have those shift logs, because it's easier for me to figure out if there are 2 scouts who I'm giving credit to for what.
If you have different booths happening at the same time, so we would have like, my kids would be at Walmart and they would be at Lowe's, and we said, okay, all the booths that happen for the whole day, you get credit, everybody gets paid this much per hour based on what our totals were.
We didn't do that.
But I was like, but you're not doing anything at your store.
Well, and I will say, so one thing that I find, and it's, I work in Virginia and North Carolina, so I live in Virginia Beach, but I end up in North Carolina a lot. And we see this across all the units, but I've actually gone up to quite a few because of being down there at the Lowe's, at Belvedere Day, Lowe's more than anything. I've actually gone up to some of the scouts. Actually, one of the ones in Princess Anne, I was over, they were selling at a booth, but I've done this at multiple booths. So if I ever introduce myself to your kids and start talking to them, you'll understand why. I'm not there to be a big pain in the butt, but I do occasionally, if I'm there, I'm gonna go say hello, right? And if I don't see the scouts introducing themselves to people as they're walking in, like I've had this happen 3 times at 3 different Lowe's, where the scouts literally were sitting behind the table, not talking to anybody, not moving, not doing anything. And I got up and I said, guys, if you want to sell popcorn, you got to be in front of the table and you got to be talking. If you don't talk, you're not going to sell any popcorn. And just kind of tried to motivate them and get them excited about the popcorn sales itself. But I've actually, and it's funny, 2 years in a row, Belvedere Day, I did it 1 year because the scouts were behind the table. The second year, they got a really nice place where they were on the kind of pathway where people were walking, and those scouts were getting out talking. So I really didn't say much to them. I just said, good job, because if I see your scouts out selling, and I'm sure that all the district popcorn kernels do this, if we see you out, we're going to be like, awesome job. But at the same time, like, and as a parent, I know, because I love my son, but he is a pain in my focus when it comes to just listening to what I want him to do. Sometimes having another adult go, hey, buddy, like, come out here, come talk to people. I don't bring a chair for my son. I don't let him sit.
Oh yeah, there's no chairs for kids.
Yeah.
We don't do that, right?
Right. Chairs are only for adults, kids don't sit. But
I stand with them.
right, but that being said, there are times that I probably will, if I see your scouts out there and it's not at all to target anybody, because I've done this several times and I'm gonna keep doing it, I've been doing this for years. If I see scouts not really engaging, I'm gonna be like, hey, guys, you gotta be out here, you gotta be saying hi to everybody, you gotta be talking. You can't sell if you don't do that.
You buy a $55 popcorn tin from them too?
And then we're gonna actually have a meeting where we're gonna kind of do a mock sale at
That's
our
awesome.
meeting and go over the script. I mean, my 6-year-old, she has a script and she knows it back to me. It's funny because she'll hold up the things. My name is Hazel. I'm from 505 and I'm selling popcorn to raise money for summer camp. And I have many delicious flavors. And it's upside down and they think she's adorable. And they're like, what's your favorite? I'll buy 2. Like,
Oh, that is a big one. And my son, he's now 14, but when he was in 1st grade, he and I was a popcorn kernel. I wasn't supposed to be, but I was. And I'm sure many of you have that experience, right? Somebody asked him what's his favorite flavor and he said, I don't eat this.
Or how about my mom says it's overpriced?
No, he doesn't say that. I don't eat it.
Heard that one.
So I turned around and I figured out what his favorite one would be because I know him, right? And I bought a tin and then I had him try it. He sold all of the tins we had. We had 2 cases. He sold 16 of those within an hour. And then I like peanut butter cup. So I opened up a peanut butter cup, bought that, and had him try it. He sold all of those. So, I mean, just having him try it, and that's why, like, so the tasting parties, I go get those little cone things, you know, and you can get them for really cheap, and I have all the kids try all the different flavors, and then they can talk about what they like after the tasting party. But, so when you're doing that, you may want to do some sort of tasting or, you know,
Yeah.
what's your favorite flavor?
We did that when we were selling too.
Stephen online says, I don't believe we should be sharing sales. So that's at the unit discretion, however
Yeah.
they want to do it.
Yeah.
There's no
Just
right
make sure
way or
that
wrong
everyone
way,
in the
whatever
unit
works
is
for your
clear.
unit.
Everybody knows how it's working.
Yeah,
I'd love someone's opinion on this, 'cause I would like to not do the average and split it. Because I have some scouts that work super hard and others that really don't. But I can't figure out how to get people to either set up or take down when that doesn't benefit them at all.
So I've heard an option is if you have somebody who is not selling that day, they're considered like the floater family. And so they will go ahead and set up and maybe break down and maybe supplement in between if you're having a really good sale. And they will get like a 10% share of the sales,
For the entire day.
however you want to do it.
Well,
Yeah. So it's-
literally looking for ideas.
And I will
Yep.
say, so for me, I might be, I mean, I put that on my unit. You know, cause as a popcorn kernel, when you're running multiple sales, you can't be everywhere at once. Do I call and say, hey, do you need help with this, that, or the other thing? I will. But I set the expectation when I have the parents meeting that if you are taking the first shift, you're coming to my house, you're picking up the supplies and you're setting up. If you are coming for second, third, whatever shift it is, you are to get in touch with whoever is at first shift to see if you need additional product. So you can come to so I actually pretty much make them come to my house to get product between every shift. So I make them talk to each other to coordinate that. Now, I will still ferry product, right? I mean, you know, because it happens. But I have them talk to each other. And then whoever does last shift, it's the expectation that you're doing that. Now, this year, the unit, I'm stepping away from the unit side of things. I'm not doing, you know, so they're not keeping it at my house. But what I did have previously was, and I still have this, is I have a room off to the side that has an electronic lock. And it's climate controlled. And so what I would do on the weekends is I would literally set it up, put a sign as to which location it was, because I could have 4 or 5 locations going at once that way. And then they know it's set up like when I talk to the parents, if you need to make sure if your location starts at 9 o'clock, you really should be getting to my house at 8 o'clock.
A big car.
With a big, and we actually took a picture of, we've taken a few pictures because we have a Facebook page for our unit, you know, because people are like, oh, my car's too small. No, it's probably not, because one of our parents has one of those little electric vehicles, a tiny electric vehicle, and they got almost an entire show and sales worth of product and the table in that little vehicle. So if you do it right, you know, we have it set up so it fits almost every vehicle. But, and because that was an excuse people were using as well. And we just said, no, this is, if you want to fundraise with your scouts, and we want to do everything we can to make it better, right? But if the parents have buy-in for it and they feel like they're really a part of it versus you doing everything for them, you're going to get a lot more out of them, where you're going to be a little less frustrated too. Just my thought on it.
I know most of you are local here. Does anybody else have a problem getting people to come out and pick up popcorn? Because we're an hour and a half away.
And that's something
That's big and tricky for us, because it's myself and my daughter, we both drive our trucks out here together and load both when we pick up, and there's usually some that doesn't fit.
And I will say that that's something that we've actually talked about in the past. We've been trying to figure out how we could get a location out there that would be climate controlled for the North Carolina
I
units.
think Christina Raymer should volunteer.
You should tell it, no.
If you don't have 2 trucks full, sometimes Christina, if you need like a few things, she can fit, but you know, she drives that little cart.
Yeah.
She can't fit 2 truck pulls, but you can talk to your district executive on the smaller things and picking up, you know, a couple of things on our.
The other thing that I would suggest, if you're talking about like interim pickup, like a Wednesday pickup, because we usually do those, you know, if we have extra inventory, you can come in on Wednesdays and check it out. And that's if we have it, right? I would suggest going to the popcorn kernels page and see who else is coming out, right? If you're not talking about a lot of items. Because we had some units doing that where they were coordinating together and saying, hey, can you pick up this for me, you know, while you're out there? But we have been trying, if anybody in Albemarle has a location that is climate controlled, that would be secure and, you know, wouldn't charge us money for it, that would want to do it as, you know, to support scouting, we would love something like that.
I say, we, as a Pack 374, we every year rent out a climate controlled storage unit for the popcorn season, and that's where we keep all our popcorns. And I was a colonel last year, but I had a couple of parents who volunteered to be a part of my team, and they had the combination, and they could go on those random Wednesday nights to issue out popcorn while I was doing other stuff with my kids. But that's how we do it. So that might be something to look into down there, you know, to pack or whatever, we'll just have to front.
Well, they're talking about to get it from here to there.
Oh, from here to there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a long ways for us to
It
drive.
is, it is.
It is.
I will say, I have a 5x8 enclosed cargo trailer, so if somebody has a pickup that they need done and it is not a day I am already scheduled for a pickup, as long as you pay me gas, I will take it to wherever it needs to go.
We just got a new trailer, what's wrong? It's in my driveway.
I was gonna
We
say,
just got a new
yeah.
trailer.
I mean, I know we were fitting like $10,000 inside a van last year to like get it from here to where we needed it to be. But I was like, guys, I have a 5x8 enclosed cargo trailer. If it needs to get from here to wherever you need to store it, I can take it. Get my phone number. Cause as long as I'm not doing it for somebody else, I don't work, so.
Yeah, I mean, and there's quite a few people who go down towards North Carolina for work or whatever else too.
I go down like every other weekend for my mother-in-law, so
Huh?
Yeah.
I've offered to take it down, but no one's taking me up on
I
it.
signed up for the,
to us?
like the Twilight camp.
Yeah.
She talked about it, yeah.
Yeah, because my mother.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on. I want to get you guys out of here. So we left off, I know it seems like decades ago, we left off on the show, the kickoff party, right? So some more information to put out to your parents, right? You want to track what items you're giving out to your parents, right? And look, I give my parents want something, I give it to them, as long as I can. But I send them, my way of doing it is a text. Hey, you got X amount of product and you owe me this amount of money. Okay. So whether you use a receipt book, you know, whatever, you know, but make sure that your parents understand they have 30 days to sell it or return it to you as a colonel, because you got to bring it back. You got to hold on to it and pay the bill. So they need to, you know, give you the money when they sell it, and make sure they understand what your process is. And remember that returns, and then this was something that somebody brought up in one of our comments into the season. They thought returns go back to the popcorn store. They don't, right? When we order that popcorn, it is ours. You know, it's owned by the council. So if the council doesn't sell it, the council's out the money. Council's out the money, they're gonna get the money from you some other way, right? So we're trying to alleviate that. But make sure they understand that we, you know, when you guys, you know, we'll talk about our return policy later in the next training, but just realize they don't get returned to the popcorn company. Just maintain your neat records. When you hit that winner's circle prize, they want to see a copy of the order form. So this way you're not scrambling to figure out what was done. So make sure you're keeping track of that. And if you need a new one, get another one. We have boxes of them. I mean, we throw away a bunch right at the end of the season. We still have some in here, but You can always get another order form if yours fills up. And then once you guys get the deadline dates for those orders, make sure your parents understand that. You can use Google. I've used Google Calendar where I put in the true popcorn information. And I put in when the orders are due and when the popcorn's supposed to arrive, things like that. If people want it, they got it. If they don't, then so it's okay. But at least I put it out there to them. Before you guys place the order, make sure you know what your parents are doing, what their plan is, right? So if you got a parent, hey, I'm gonna take the order form to work, or I'm gonna try to sell in advance, order more popcorn for that parent and know what did that parent do the year before? If they sold $5,000 worth of popcorn, they're probably gonna do it again. So make sure you're ordering enough to cover that kind of stuff, along with the show and sells and the things that you had planned for yourself or for your unit. And then if you don't tap into your show and sell stock, okay? If you order show and sell stock, and let's say maybe you sold more than you thought you would, and now your stock is a little lower, and then a parent comes in, hey, I sold $500 worth of popcorn, I need all these products. Go on Facebook and say, hey, I need $500 worth of product, and see who's got it. Okay, don't give out your show and sell stock, because what happens is if you reserve that area for you, and now you can't fill it because you don't have the product, that area is going to go wasted, and that's just an open opportunity that somebody else could have used. So do your best, and that's a management thing, and you get better at it with experience. But anyway, sometimes you get onesie twosies where, hey, this guy's going on deployment, he wants to get so much, okay, let's give him some popcorn. But for the most part, try to hold on to your stock, and then utilize that unit to unit transfer. That's Facebook. Okay. Any questions on that? Anything else I didn't cover you can think of for kickoff party?
I don't know if this would be in the next training or in this one, but when you get a location, the ideal thing is you want to make sure your parents ahead of time signed up. If you're a week out and you don't have anybody signed up for the location, that's when you really should be going on Facebook to offer that up to another unit. We actually think even more time than that, but parents can come in last minute, but about a week out, if you're sitting on a Lowe's, and it's a really, all the Lowe's are very hot locations, no matter what time of the year. You need to shuffle it off to somebody else. It'll eventually come back to you somehow, but to have a Lowe's open,
Yep.
That's a big loss right there. And to be honest with you, if we're driving around and we see this unit's supposed to be here and they're not, after a certain amount of times, we're not going to let you have your Lowe's anymore because you're not maintaining them and managing them. And we actually had to go to a unit and tell them, we have to give your times up to other people, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah,
So
that's a tough thing to manage, right? Because you got to figure out how much time do you need to say, okay, we're not going to do it. Because is that a week? Is it 2 weeks? And then if it's a week, now you're giving it to somebody else, and nobody's going to want it because everybody else has their plan. I mean, you might get somebody to fill in. So it's a tough thing to cover, but the bottom line is we're trying to get all these areas covered, with scouts as best we can. All right, so hopefully what everybody's been waiting for, at least, and how many new colonels are out here? I mean, I heard a couple of people say they did it last year. Okay, so some of you did it last year, but if you're brand new, if you did it last year, this hopefully is going to be a little bit easier for you to understand. If you're brand new, it's your first time ordering popcorn. How do you figure out how much product to get, how much you're going to sell? So first of all, look at what was sold last year. Okay, use that as a baseline, right? The unit sold, $20,000 worth. Okay, and then do you have the same scouts that are selling, or do they move on to the troop? Do you have new scouts coming in? Based it on your plan, like I said, what show and sells you have scheduled. Okay. Hopefully you have records from what you sold last year. Like, in other words, we did a show and sell. Somebody said they had from Lowe's from August. I got my sheet. If you still have that stuff, that's a good base, because now you know what you sold and you can kind of figure out what you're hopefully going to sell, if it's going to be the same thing. And then what parents want to walk the neighborhood with their scout. We talked about that earlier, right? Making sure those parents give you that data before you order your product. And then who's taking the order form to work. Okay, all these two things here are going to add to your inventory, right? You're gonna buy for what you know, right? And you're only buying it for the first month, right? So you're not scheduled for the whole season. It's just what you got planned, when we get those August Lowe's dates out to you and we get the Food Lion dates out to you, you're gonna buy product for what you have scheduled. And then again, talk to the parents first, because if they're gonna go walk the neighborhood, and I know the mom that did all that bling for us, and she would take her kid out and then they would sell. And so I knew I had to buy extra for them. So have fun, so have funding in the unit's bank account that covers 60%, which is the cost, right? You're gonna pay 60%, and you get 40% for yourself. Now, what happens if you don't have that money in the bank? Well, you don't have to have that covered, but the idea is to sell the popcorn and pay the bill. But if you have the money, that's great. If you can cover the total cost, the 60% of that total cost, then you're golden. And you're gonna have, so like Pam said earlier, you're gonna have plenty of opportunity to sell off that first order, right? So you always want to order more on the first order, because sales go up in August. And then if you don't sell it, there's somebody on Facebook or there's somebody with 4 kids that are standing out there all day selling 10 grand that are running out of product, and you're like, yeah, take mine, man. You can have, take my classic car, whatever. You can get rid of it one way or another. It's unfortunate if you can't sell it, but when you're sitting on a lot of product and you can't sell it because you don't have the parent buy-in or whatever, it's always a good feeling to be able to get rid of it to somebody else.
I had a dime for every time somebody came up to me and said, wow, we did not plan for that Lowe's.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be sitting.
Yeah, or you get a storm, right? A storm comes and now you can't sell, so now you got an extra product on hand. So that stuff happens. This is a big management thing, is all it is.
And we did get a lot of questions last year about storms, specifically the Lowe's locations. Treat it like any other scouting event, okay? It's a safety call on your on your side as far as your unit. So we're not gonna sit there and say, oh, we went to Lowe's and it was storming and nobody was out there, and so you weren't manning the location properly. But in some of these instances, you got something where it's predicted later on in the day. Maybe you have an overhang and you don't know if that's really gonna happen. Like one of the units called me, well, there's supposed to be rain later. And I said, okay. And I looked at the time and I said, well, what time are you supposed to be there? Oh, between 2 and 5. Rain wasn't starting until 8 p.m. So I said, obviously do what you feel is safe. That's the bottom line, right? But at the same time, look at the weather. Like if it's a 2 to 5 and the rain's not supposed to start till 8, then why would you not man that ship, right? So some common sense also helps with those weather related issues.
Well, last year, we watched the storm roll in and we packed up as the storm rolled in. But I mean, so you just gotta kind of play it by ear, but that's another thing. Have your backup plan, and if the storm rolls in early, you know where the car is, you can quickly exit.
But I will say that the other thing too is some of those indoor locations did phenomenal when we had those bad weather weekends. So having some indoor locations, where people, like especially in August, where they want to be outdoors, but all of a sudden it's storming, so they don't really want to be outdoors, but they want to get out of the house because it's a summer weekend. Those indoor locations can be really good.
And then I don't think I was going to talk specifically about it in here, but so you make the first order, and then your second order is going to be based on your current inventory, and again, what you have planned for the next month, and so on and so forth. Any questions on that? That's really important. And again, if you're new and you don't know and you got questions, talk to your district colonel. We'll help you out. Okay, what do I really need to get, right? So our $10 classic caramel is still $10, right? Pam, or Allison, sorry. Okay. That's the biggest seller, and it's the biggest seller because a lot of people say, okay, yeah, I'll buy something from you. Here's what's the cheapest one you got. And I don't think it's because people like classic caramel, it's because it's $10. And just as a rough idea, the caramel with sea salt, which I think is better, personally. And again, go to do the taste testing and figure it out for yourselves, right? Because I think if I remember right, the weight, and that's another thing, right? Know your product. I think it was 25. I think it was twice. At one time it was 20. So it was easy. It was a $10 and a $20, and one was half the other or something like that. So you can price per ounce or whatever you want to do. you know, it's a better deal. But to me, the classic caramel is a lot better because it's got that, I'm sorry, the caramel sea salt. It's got that little hint of salt. But again, your kids need to know that and they need to sell the product. But they can get a bigger sale and especially if it's you know, the price per ounce kind of thing. But if you look there, the classic caramel was at 23% of sales and the caramel sea salt was 9%. Was that number two? Allison, do you know?
Yes.
Okay. So you can see the difference between the sales, right? 23% and then 9% was our second highest health. And pick up all flavors and at least one of all the top three non-returnables. Okay, you'll sell it. Like people say, oh, I'm not going to sell a chocolate lever. I don't want to have. Get one. Just at least get one. Okay, and have it. If somebody's going to need it, or you're going to sell it. One of the two. We had our pack. Some guy came up early in the morning, and bought all the chocolate stuff we had, and it was great because the kid that was selling at that time always got the raw end of the deal when it came to time frames and stuff like that. So he made a really good sale. That was really cool. But you never know what's going to happen. So for the top three, that's the chocolate lover, the trio, and the cheese lover. Not in that order: chocolate, cheese, and trio. You'll sell it. You'll transfer to another unit. The cheese and trio usually is going to be returnable for a limited time, but the chocolate lovers is not. I'm telling you, you'll get rid of your chocolate. Even if you're getting rid of it at the end of the season, you'll get rid of it. And if you can't get rid of it, call me because that's my favorite one. I might buy it from you for a discounted price. And then when in doubt, again, talk to your district colonel because we're here to help you guys. And then again, keep the chocolate products cool. And there's a couple flavors, like just I don't think we have any white chocolate stuff, but like white ruby is a chocolate, right? I'm not, I like white ruby too, right?
That's my favorite.
Yeah, but white ruby is a chocolate, so you got to make sure you understand. Like mud puddles was a chocolate, things like that. So.
And in my storage, which was my living room, I put all the chocolate in a row. So that way, if people, like they knew these products have to be in the cooler, right? So all of these products on this wall are gonna be in the cooler. Because they're chocolate.
So when, at the end of the season, again, store in the house, not the garage, you know, in a air conditioned place. We do what we call the thump test when you try to bring it back to get, you know, return your product at the end of the season. We do what we call the thump test, and that's if we take the can and shake it and it bump, bump, bump. It's a big lump, right? Again, call me. I will take that off your hands because council's not going to take it back. But I discounted prices, of course. All right, credit card apps. Oh, by the way, that's the end of the what do I get? How much do I get? Are we good? We got a fuzzy, clear as mud. Okay. Okay. Again, we're here to help you guys. This is yeah. So we're not going to break that down here. I try to get as much on there as I could. So hopefully you guys understand. But talk to your district colonel. Okay. Credit card apps. You got to have a credit card. You got to have some sort of credit card app. If you don't, you're going to lose sales. So utilize the EIN and the name on the bank account, not your personal information. Okay, the IRS was handing out 1040 or 1099 Ks a couple of years ago because we had our own information on and it was like a sale. It was like I have my own business. But you can get that website there. There's a link. This will be posted online after the
Yes.
you know, after the training.
Slides we post this.
So yeah, you can click that link. And then for some reason, I think I updated that this year. If for some reason it doesn't work, just Google it and you'll find it. And then Scouting America doesn't endorse any particular processor, credit processing vendor. So if you've got I don't even know if this was written a few years back, maybe 5 years ago. It's been updated ever since. I think a lot of it now is Bluetooth. So, but back in the day, everything was going into phones and people had different connections and fittings in their phones. So if you're still doing it mechanically like that, that's fine, but Bluetooth is probably the way to go.
Make sure whatever you're using, that all the parents who are working that shift can use it.
Yeah, I said that earlier, making sure everybody's got it on their phone if it's an app, or it should be an app. and then update it. Make sure they open it up and update it, because sometimes somebody's got to log in, or you get the treasurer's email and password or whatever. So just make sure it's up and running prior to that sales day.
And your prices. Make sure your prices are updated.
Yeah.
I know that sounds funny, but you'll get to the first weekend, you'll totally space out on it, and all of a sudden you'll be like, oh,
And that's
and there are some pricing changes this year.
yeah, that's for the unit colonels to take care of. You can input, so if you have a credit card, a reader or whatever, and it doesn't work, something goes wrong. A lot of times you can input the credit card manually into the phone. They're gonna take a little bit of additional fees, but it's worth it. And some of like Zettel, that they take, shit, I can't remember them all now, the, PayPal, they take all kinds of crazy stuff, right? Like Venmo, I mean, you can select it. I don't know Square anymore, but
Square takes almost everything now. Square will even do, like, if they have watch, like Apple Pay on their watch.
Yeah.
Or Samsung Pay on their watch. With Square, you can use the phone to tap to a
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
to pay now, but
If
it-
their
they
phone
do
is
it
updated.
If their
Yeah.
phone's updated.
I have a
Yeah.
cell whose phone is like 3 years old, it does not.
It won't do.
Well, and I will say we have one of those
Mine-
too, and I just know that every time that scout's parent is going out,
Isn't too high tech.
I make sure that
I
they
just
have a
take
card
my
reader
phone.
more so than
Yeah.
anybody else. But they also have on Square, they have a QR code that goes
Mhm.
directly to Cash App. So the big thing, no matter what you use for cards, make sure that you know what's gonna get you the least amount of fees. So like, for instance, with Square, if you type in the card number, it's gonna charge you more than if they went to Cash App and paid you through Cash App. Right? Or they do the tap to pay, right? So make sure that you know that, because what you don't want, I had a scouting parent who was literally every transaction one weekend typed in every single card number. And I mean, it doesn't add up in one day, right? And I
It
picked
can
up on
if
it.
you're doing
It
that with
does
Square,
can if you
because
do
that's a
lot.
big difference.
It
on
is a
Square.
big difference. It's like 1% almost, I think.
We have a hard time when we-
2%.
It's two,
Yeah.
I think it's almost 2% difference.
Yeah.
To do it
So-
manual type from a tap.
I mean, I went and I pulled the report that weekend and I went directly to that parent and said, why are we doing this? And then I talked to them about ways around it and how to
When we
fix
go
that.
door to door, if we're in an area where we just can't not get connection anywhere.
Mm.
That
So
sucks.
you could use the QR, so if you can either send a payment link, well, if you don't have connection, QR code. They could do the QR code, especially if you're going door to door where they're at their house.
Using their Wi-Fi, yeah.
So then you could have that QR code, you can actually print it out. So at one point I did have a printout of the QR code for the troops, so that way they could go and get to Cash App through that.
so while we're on talking about, I want to go back a second while we're talking about fees and stuff like that. We talked about the budget earlier in the training, right? All these fees that you guys are paying, make sure you're factoring that into your budget. Because if you're not, you're losing money, right? So that should be one of the items that you're selling for. You're selling to make up for these fees. So if you spend $200 in fees, one of the line items in your budget should be $200 in credit card fees.
So we
Popcorn.
figured, most Square fees are what, 2.7% or somewhere around there, maybe a little
I
bit
think
less.
so, yeah, it's like a 2.6.
Yeah, so we figured for that and loss, 4% is what my unit figured, and that's an overkill, it probably isn't 4%, right? But our thought was, if we're budgeting, we'd rather it be a little bit more than a little bit less.
Yeah, I think it's a 2.6 plus 3 cents per transaction.
Right, something like that.
We were doing meat sticks and I had to figure it out the other day.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what
Pretty
we did based off of it. We said, okay, if we look at, it's almost 1%, we add an extra percent for loss or something happening, that gives us 4%, it's a buffer. So that way we're not messing up our program year based off of fees or losses.
And it's a good idea. I know Aaron talked about hers, but at the end of the day, however you want to do it, verify your sales with the app. I think they probably all have a way to do that. This way you're not letting it go too long, and then the next thing you know, you're trying to do, 2 days, 3 days worth of show and sells, or if you have multiple going, in one day, trying to get it done at the end of the day as soon as possible. And then you got more information on the Pecatonica website. Any questions about credit cards? Okay, I think we're all familiar. All right, so communication. So if you have not done it, sign up on that Facebook group. If you're not on Facebook because you don't want Facebook, that's fine. I'm telling you, sign up on the Facebook group. make yourself the, unit colonel, whatever you want to call yourself. But, that is a great, great tool. And
And I
again,
will say, I just want to congratulate everybody that's a part of this, because we've had 5 signups tonight for the Facebook group from different units. So I've been seeing them come through. I've been approving their requests as we've been sitting here.
Yeah, Tidewater Council popcorn kernels.
yeah, that's
I
it.
bought a
Tidewater
council.
Council popcorn kernel, yeah, that's it. Yep. And again, that was probably an idea brought up by one of the parents, and that's been great. If you release a Lowe's date, you can't do Lowe's, you just post it. Hey, this state's open. If you don't want to, hey, I need product or I have excess product, put it on there.
So we
Okay.
just had a question. It's, I don't have Facebook. What's another option? I have no social media.
That there is no other option.
Well-
Get it just for popcorn season.
Well, I will say, the other thing that you can do that we've seen in other units, because we've had this happen like for security reasons, where one person is not on Facebook due to their job. They've had somebody else go and say, who is on Facebook from their unit, be the representative for the unit in the Facebook group, the Popcorn Kernels Facebook page. So if you've got an issue where you can't be on Facebook because, maybe you just hate it, I don't know. Find somebody else in your unit that is willing to be the go-between on Facebook to help you coordinate things when you need it.
So that's the answer. There you go. Okay. So again, talking about communication, keep the district and the council informed of plans for excess inventory. That's gonna get really important towards the end of the season. Where we know what, look, Allison and Aaron and they're trying to balance things, right? And figure out how much we're gonna get back. Because again, if one year I think the council took back like $200,000 worth of popcorn. And then they're like, wow, what are we gonna do with this stuff? That's a financial loss. Okay. So, everything's trying to stay balanced. And so far we've been doing a great job, and that's all because of you guys. And if I didn't say that, I know I didn't say that. Thanks for everything you guys do, because, man, we've had a great couple years. We've made a lot of improvements.
So
Anyway.
I just wanted to, one thing that came up about that, there was a thing from the Facebook question. They said, could we have a list of phone numbers for all the kernels? And I answered in the chat, but I just want to answer this kind of for everybody. If you need if you need to get in touch with another kernel, get in touch with your district kernel. They'll help you get in touch with them. But we don't publish everybody's numbers because we don't know if they're okay with that, right? So if you have a question and you need to reach another unit, reach out to your district kernel. They will help coordinate that and make sure that, phone numbers are okay with being shared and things of that nature. Because that question just came across the chat. But I want to say, because of all of your communication last year, we had the best year ever in returns. We had the lowest amount of returns we've ever seen, and it was phenomenal. At least since I've been doing it.
So there's a question that came up on how do we know who our district colonel is? And that's a good question. And I thought about that where units count our districts. We don't know what that is at one-on-one level. So we probably need to talk more about that. And I think we'll incorporate that next year. But you can find out who your district colonel is, PAC 791. You know who that is offhand? 791, is that?
That's yours.
That's me, right? Okay. I don't remember. I got enough going on, I gotta.
Do you want me to know who the kernel is? No, I don't. Okay.
So to quick, kind of refresher on the districts, Three Rivers is Chesapeake, pretty much. Then you've got the Albemarle District, that's North Carolina, right? That's our northeastern North Carolina contingent. I have to, because you guys kind of get left out, I have to just kind of.
My kids were in the top of the district.
They were.
So I was just like, little recognition, we may be out there, but we killing it.
And I will tell you that there were units from Princess Anne who went down to the Outer Banks and sold at some of those locations and did phenomenal. So, I mean, when states weren't being taken up by the North Carolina district. So
The Outer Banks does what? We got tourists
oh yeah.
all over the X, man. That's
Yeah,
nice.
they do. And then you've got anything really, if you look at the boulevard as kind of the dividing line, north of the boulevard and over in Norfolk, that's Bayside. South of Virginia Beach Boulevard on is Princess Anne. It's a pretty easy way to kind of go through what the districts are. So if you're Bayside, which would be Norfolk and north of the boulevard, it would be Krista over here, and where's Scott? I know he's back there. Okay, Scott's back there. If you're looking for Princess Anne, that's south of the Boulevard area, mostly, it's gonna be Tony and Matt. And then if we're talking about Three Rivers, we have got three actually, Rudy, and then, why am I spacing? out? Tammy
Tammy.
and Clark.
Yeah.
And then for Albemarle, we've got Nan. And Nan is phenomenal. She's very on top of the units down there.
Those numbers will all be posted here at the end of the training.
And not only that, they'll be in the popcorn guide when it comes out.
All
Act
right.
67 is Three Rivers, right?
No, they're Bayside.
Bayside.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's me.
I was gonna say that's my old factory.
I'm like, that's me.
All right, so read the popcorn guide, because one of the things that we don't want to get is questions that are answers are already in there. So please read that thing. All right. Let's see here. So, District Colonel, okay,
Oh, somebody did ask what Scout Bucks is, but I think they mean Scout Boss.
Yeah, what's that?
popcorn guy is gonna come out when we do the training. It's not out yet.
So
Not this training, the regular training.
Tony, somebody asked what Scout Boss is.
Scout Boss?
And then somebody in here said, yeah, what is that?
So Scout Boss is the Pecatonica's electronic system. Okay,
Tell you to put all your council prizes and winners.
Your order.
yeah, so,
Orders and all that stuff.
right, so for the new colonels, when you log in under your unit number, all your existing scouts are gonna be there. You don't have to load them in every time. And they will continually be in there under that unit. So you don't have to do a lot of work, you just have to add in the new kids. It's gonna auto-generate the code. That code's gonna stick with that scout forever. It's not gonna change every year. It's always gonna be the same one.
Unless they change units.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Well, except for when they change units.
yeah, if they stay in that unit, then yeah, it's gonna be that.
So
same.
when they go to scouts from Cubbies, it's gonna
Right.
change, right?
Oh, nope, I just thought it changed every year.
Nope.
Thanks, there you go.
Unless you're taking all the scouts out and putting new scouts in. So some unit colonels, and I've seen them do this before.
Right.
They literally became the scout colonel and decided to delete all the old roster because they didn't know who was who.
Right.
And then they put a new roster in. So it really depends on your pop colonel, because if they do something like that, then the number is gonna change.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
nobody, I
So
mean, I
that's-
didn't know that.
And they are open, right? Are they open right now to log in?
They are.
Scoutbox is
it's-
open, so you can go to, I believe it's pecatonicariverpopcorn.com and use our council key, which is 596TWC, and set up your account at any time. Fatima knows, because I think she was the first one that set hers up this year.
596 TWC is the council code. That's probably the question we get asked the most. And that is in the popcorn guide, which is not out yet.
It's also posted in the Facebook group.
I'm not there yet.
I'm showing it up.
I'm sorry, but I'm not there yet.
Don't.
Yeah, you got all the
We
time
have
in the world,
time.
it's okay.
596. You've got time. Relax, you've got time.
Facebook, you.
That would make sense.
You're approved.
All right, let's keep on rolling here. Let's see. Don't order, okay, so don't order, I talked briefly about your subsequent orders. Don't order more popcorn if you have enough to cover your sales. Okay, if you have enough to cover sales and you know your parents, they're not selling anymore, don't order any more popcorn. Again, always based on what your plan is for that next month. And then you can exchange with other units, give and take. The Colonel Tracker, we'll talk about that here in a second. That's just a way to track your scouts and what they sell. Build a inventory tracker. So you wanna, if during your show and sell, you need to have a paper tracker. So you need to build that or get one from someone else.
A lot in the files too. If you go into the Facebook group and you look at the files, a lot of people have uploaded their trackers over the years. You would just need to update it.
Yeah.
But there's lots of them there.
No, and I always notify your parents of their scouts credit after the show and sell. So when you verify the sales, you count the money and you verify the credit sales, make sure you send an email to your parents saying, hey, your kid earned this amount and this, this the donations and whatever. Again, that's the transparency stuff. Then what I have my scouts do is on their popcorn form, They had a line item that's show and sell on this date, and they put in at the total, and the total donations and the total sales. Again, documenting documenting scout sales will be required for the winner's circle prizes. So they're gonna have to have that on the sheet. Pay on time, report donations throughout the sale by the deadlines to help scouts earn recognition prizes. So one of the things that we wanted to do at the council level is kind of give the kids some incentive to get the donations paid on time, or paid throughout the season instead of waiting for the end. And that's because we wait for the end. Donations cover all the returns. Okay, all the returns going to go to the USO, and we pull that money from donations, and that's how we work that. But the bottom line is we want to collect instead of waiting till the end. And I'm guilty of it too as a popcorn kernel. And I just wait till the end to give the donations, but that kind of screws things up here. So now for incentive, get them throughout the sale. So just make sure you're paying that and paying your bill on time. If for some reason you can't pay your bill, right? So let's say you don't have your money in the account, a bunch of sales fell through, and you don't have the money to physically pay your bill, just talk to us and let us know. And then powers that be will work with you guys and, do whatever they need to do. But we just need to know that. And then sign up for the Popcorn Kernel Facebook group. Top and bottom, sandwich. It's a Popcorn Kernels Facebook group sandwich. First and last. All right.
Donations this year, are we doing the pins with the patches and
Ah.
that stuff again?
Oh, no, the question comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Plan now.
Okay.
We will definitely have it solidified by the next training, but we are looking at doing something similar to last year. Where there's reporting periods throughout the sale with incentives throughout.
Okay.
With patches and pins.
Yeah, I had.
Just a different one, so that way.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked out. I think that was a great idea. I don't know who
It
came up with
was.
that. Is that you?
It was probably you.
No, it wasn't me. But yeah, I think that worked out great for everybody.
It
Yeah.
does, and just knowing about those donations helps the council have a little leeway to order extra inventory. For when
This
you
year,
do
I
have that sale that exceeds your expectations to come in, on those Wednesdays in between.
Yeah, so hopefully everybody understood what Allison said, right? That allows the council to order more. Because we've run out in the past, and we've had extra orders come in, help offset that stuff for you guys. All right. I don't know where the money goes. I don't know. I don't understand that question.
I think he's asking the breakdown on how much the unit gets versus council versus BSA. But I mean, I think that the most important thing because we did talk about at the very beginning that the money gets divided. But I think the biggest thing is you're asking basically what percentage goes back to the unit. You get 40%.
And actually, I think, now that I think about it, that
Yes.
was covered on one of the slides, and I don't think I skipped over that line
I'll
item.
just put it in the chat.
40%, so we get 40%, you guys get 40%, right? You keep 40% of the sales for yourself. That is, I think it says it's the highest in the nation. I don't know that if that's true, like literally, but
It is.
it's gotta be the
It is.
highest.
Not steal our thunder, man.
No, I'm just saying, I put that in there, but
So
full disclosure, right? I don't,
We've asked other councils, most are doing 30 to 32% for
Yeah.
in-person sales.
Yeah.
We do 40, and that's because you guys do a great job managing inventory.
And when we look at, so I mean, every year we sit down as a group and go through. Am I killing you, Tony? I'm sorry.
No. I'm still on the 40%. She's on the 40% thing. I don't know,
Okay.
Apparently I'm supposed to know everything about everything.
So when we, we look at, because prices go up, we have to figure out how to offset it. And one of our biggest goals is to try to keep that at 40%, knowing that we have the highest return to our scouts. We want to make sure that as much as possible is going back to the local unit, right? And so that's been so you're going to see some price changes this year, and you're probably going to go, why are we doing that? Well, part of that is prices went up and we're trying to offset those prices. And part of it is we still want to keep it as close to 40% at 40% for you guys, especially with how phenomenal you guys did last year with returns. you know, you guys did we actually had to order more for the USO because we didn't have enough for our donations,
Oops.
which was awesome. It was
Yeah, that's a
awesome.
good thing.
We
It's
love
actually a
that.
good thing, yeah.
We love that. And that was truly, because I'm sure if you're involved, even if this is your first year as a popcorn colonel, you did some popcorn sales last year or something with your scout, you know something about it. Every parent that's a part of this, that was all on you guys, right? You guys did a great job. Your units, your parents, your organizations, we want to keep that there. So that's been kind of our way to offset is trying to figure it out. And then we also, you know, the classic caramel is going to stay at 10 because we wanted to keep that as our $10 item. You know, so we did try to offset a little bit, but it's going to be different this year.
And just to clarify, that 40% is in-person sales, the
Mhm.
online is 30% like it was last year.
So just make sure that if you have local sales, please try to get them to buy from you and not online, since you're getting a little bit more back.
So a lot of the questions coming in are gonna be based on our next training, but we'll get to that when we can. He was asking about the breakdown for the rest of the money. I don't know what that
So
is.
basically it goes, because you're talking about 30% essentially goes back locally, I believe, and 30% goes back for product or something.
Yeah, it's roughly 30% back to Pecatonica. And then the council.
Is about 30.
Yeah, so
Since
how
he-
you split it up with your scout in your unit is up to you.
Yeah.
Some units decide to do 10% towards their, you know, like their budgetary, like what they need to pay for in their committee, and the rest goes back to the scout. That 40%, the breakdown is however your committee decides to do that. And also with the online commission, so we don't manage that part of it, that's on the units.
Okay. So unit incentives, which, there's a slide right after this. I think this shows the tier method to fund extras like registration, summer camp, etc. So you can, again, going back to your budget, right? If you're gonna, if your unit wants to give a $250 prize to the scouts, put that in your budget, right? If you're going to Dollar Tree, so I went to Dollar Tree for the pack and the kids are like not happy with the gifts. You might have to step it up to like, you know, Five Below or something, but if you're gonna buy that stuff, that's gotta get into your budget. You're budgeting for that because if you don't, you're losing money. So, budget for that stuff. Again, grab bag, pizza party for a unit goal, pies in the face, and then using a paper plate versus the good china, right? You don't want to ruin your china. And then you can get, you know, if you got extra unit hoodies or T-shirts or something like that, you can give those away as well. Again, putting out all that stuff into the budget. So, and then hopefully this is visible to you guys. So this is Pack 700. They did a great job with this thing. I love it. I didn't ask permission this year, but I did last year, and I'm assuming we're still good.
Now you ask.
Yeah. But so this is how it works, right? So on the left is the pack incentives, right? That's the unit incentives. And on the right, that's what council gives. And this is not updated from last year. But you can see all the $100, you know, earn a sales patch at the bottom right, the Cinema Cafe ticket at 500. And then if the kids sell 700, then they get, membership fees and dues are paid, right? By the unit.
Tax 700 took a hit doing that 700 for 700
Oh,
last
really?
year, but we're keeping it 700 because we don't want to change our
Yeah.
our tax number.
Well, but anyway, yeah, so that I think that thing's great. It's a good visual. Yeah, so the pack top seller gets pie the Cub Master. And that's a lot of fun at the pack level. If you've never done that, that is a blast. And I'm telling you, you got kids coming out of woodwork that I want to do it. But not everybody can do it, and however you guys want to run it, but it's a lot of fun.
We did that for equipment too with the pack level, and they loved that.
We did
Yeah.
pies, we did silly string.
Yeah.
A mess.
We did it in the parking lot?
Okay, again, hopefully this came out okay. You guys can see it, but this is this tracker that you're gonna take to your show and sell. It's again, not up to date, but it lists all the products and the price of each product. The guy this is mine, the guy that wrote this, he did, or he works financials for restaurants or something like that, but it's got so many checks and balances on this thing. Okay, the first column says the previous shift's ending inventory. So when you come in and you're taking a shift, somebody's already there, you're writing down what, you know, you're gonna compare you're gonna count what's there and compare it to their ending inventory and verify it if it's the same. So the next line is your shift starting inventory, then any items that are added mid-shift, then you have your cash sales, your credit sales. What we do is put a tick mark for each product. We're not trying to, write more than that, just tick marks and then make sure the kids know 4 lines and then a slash. Otherwise, you're sitting there trying to count your lines. So cash credit, and the anticipated ending inventory. So in this column, you're figuring out if I started with 10 and I sold 5 and 5, that means I should have 0. And you put 0 in your anticipated, and then the actual ending is the next column, and that's when you're actually going around counting. So again, a lot of checks and balances in this thing. A lot of times the parents don't use it fully, but it's a tool and it is what it is. And the guy that put a lot of effort into it, so I keep it around. And then you're adding the total items, total cash, total credit. So again, that's the one I use. And then on the top, the shift number, scouts, 3 scouts, whatever. Any questions?
There's quite a few of these in the file section, because I know my unit was up there at one point, and there's at least another different unit to it, but they're showing cell tracker sheets up there. If we can use them.
And I'm gonna be fixing it. I don't know if somebody's getting or not, I have no information about that.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever you want to share, when you want to share a best practice or something you do, please feel free to put it on the Facebook group. It becomes a learning community that we can all use each other's, information to get better.
We wanted to have it like all of our sales separated, so like we have our donations and our sales and like all of the information on the top. From like locations, which scouts, who are the parents, because we want to keep track of which parents are there.
So we have that too, yeah. Ours have parents, scouts, location, time. And then we actually have a breakdown at the top to make it easier for when we're counting at the end of the weekend that says like starting cash, ending cash, and then it has credit card sales, cash sales, donations, credit card donations, cash.
Yeah, that's what we have on the bottom of ours.
Yeah, ours is on the top.
I just figured it's easiest that way.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the district colonel contacts. And this will be in the popcorn guide as well.
You all might just want to take a picture of this, just in case you have any other questions that pop up before you get to the next training.
Oh, you're-
Everybody needs to call Tony.
Oh, somebody said I don't see Pam on there.
You're getting ahead of me there, Steve.
Thank you.
You can text me.
They call Matt.
Always answer text. Don't email me, but
So if you scan that QR code, it's gonna take you to our popcorn sale webpage, and there is information on the June and July trainings on that page with the registration.
Allison, you're so fancy.
And that's where we share everything, as far as like the popcorn kernels guide, all of these presentations, they get saved up there, so that way you can go back and watch it again.
everybody got that?
Good.
Yes, we're good.
So one more
If you
camera.
need to get in touch with me, honestly, text me the best way, because I don't answer my phone. I work on a construction site all day, so I don't answer my phone. Just text me, and if it's important, I'll call you back. My phone stays on vibrate all day.
I do try to keep a pretty close eye on the Facebook page, not always, but I do try to kind of answer things. So if you have a question and you're not getting to your district kernels and you post on the Facebook page, I try to get out there and answer as many questions as possible as well.
Erin's online 24/7. She is good about that.
I'm a realtor, so I'm on my phone all the time.
So going back to the Facebook page, if you guys post something on Facebook and it's satisfied, like it's done, like, hey, I got a chocolate I want to get rid of, and then somebody buys it, delete the post. Once the money crosses hands and everything, because that thing gets kind of
It's
crazy.
gonna get crazy.
And Rudy also said from Three Rivers, he also prefers text to work, so, just so you know, for Three Rivers.
Broken camera?
Well, yeah,
it wouldn't
get
Or is that operating there?
No, it wouldn't get the QR code.
Okay. Oh, okay.
You got a link to Scout Boss on that website? That's awesome.
Actually, yeah.
Type in.
All right, so in summary, your total sales required is based off of a working budget. And remember, that's a working budget. That can change throughout the season. And then there's the website if you wanted to get more information on that. Help unload when you can. And remember, that's just not for the first one, that's for everyone after that. but the first one is the biggest. Hold your kickoff party, do your taste testing, make sure your parents understand what's going on. The more informed they are, the better your sales gonna be. Start early, can't stress that enough. And again, managing the inventory, that's what this thing is all about. And I think so far we've done a pretty good job of that. And diversify your selling strategy. So online sales, show and sells, order forms to work, parents going out and walking in neighborhoods, whatever. There's a lot of ways to sell popcorn. And communicate. Okay, if something's going wrong, let us know. Or we can't help you if we don't know. All right. Anybody have any other questions online or in person?
Online's good.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate the attendance tonight. And again, you guys have any questions, feel free. My number's up there too, especially for the class related. Reach out and I'll do what I can to help you out.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks
All
for
right.
letting me-
Thank you.
All right.